Good morning. It is Saturday morning, and it's like 7. It's late. I don't have to go to work. So I put on my bum around the house clothes. I need to work on cleaning my garage. That has to be opened up. That space has to be opened up. And the task is annoying, and it's sorting out things that are not mine and figuring out if I can throw them away, somebody else's stuff, because they're not taking care of their stuff. They gave it to me. I don't want it. So that's the inheritance from mom and dad, is now I have to sort through their things that are not of value. Anyway, I just finished Friday morning Frameless, and this was probably a week-old episode with Clara, who is a sociologist, interviewing Chad to find out what this little corner is and doing some kind of study. And is this a thing? Is it a thing that is real and will have a life? Will it live? Is it different than other things? So Grimm and Lance were on the program, and Grimm thinks it is a real thing. This flotilla of fire ants. Excuse me. And so Lance thinks it's real, his meaning crisis of thinking that politics, American politics, was this unstoppable kingdom, and then found that it's stoppable. We seem to be in a kind of a crisis there, and he found this place. And then Chad, his journey through alcoholism, and stumbles upon this meaning crisis channel and finds wonderful new connections. So virtually not alone. So I had a couple thoughts that I wanted to express, and I'm doing this as a placeholder, and maybe I'll have a real channel, but this is just me talking. So a couple things happened during the video that I just want to mention. So this little corner, we've got Grimm, who's sort of become a focus of attention for me, because that's territory that's hard to explore, and that was one of the themes that Clara, I think, began with. I watched this video in 2 or 3 seatings or whatever, so it was spread out over a week. And I think at the beginning of the video, Grimm, I want to call him Grimm, was indecipherable in some way. He's a complicated character who doesn't seem to care if you get what he's saying. And even at the end, he said, he's going to say what he says, and if you get it, it's yours. If you don't get it, it's his. He's saying his things. So that was interesting to me. Grimm said about 3 things that were big and complex, and he could put a big thing out there that you have to take apart and try and understand. So that was very good. So one of the things I wanted to get to was not part of this video, but in the meaning crisis, wisdom mining. So I'm going to think about a couple things, and then an idea that popped in my head because Chad was talking about sharing ideas, wisdom mining, and idea trading cards. So Chad was talking about how this is a place where people can calmly and in some way lovingly, graciously exchange ideas. And it's like idea trading cards. And one of the problems with our stalemate right now is people are not interested in collecting some ideas. So if they were trading cards, some people are trying to collect the whole set. It's set. Oh, that connection with set. A set of trading cards, or they want to collect their favorites. and they want everyone to have no trading cards that cancel out. So if it's like Dungeons and Dragons and you have cards that are given as with some kind of power, nobody wants their power plays to be overruled. So you shouldn't have cards that try to undercut my idea. So trading cards, and some people are looking for, they will hear an idea and say, oh, I haven't collected that card yet. That's interesting. Do you have an extra? So if you have trading cards, you get them in your bubblegum pack. You might have an extra one of those ideas that you can give to somebody. So this exchange of ideas, it's almost like trading cards, and it's used competitively in play, because you can use, now there are all these games that are role-playing games where you can use your cards to win a competition of some sort. So that's the role-playing that we have in this Enlightenment age, that everyone's trying to win this competition. So they're collecting cards that are useful in battle. Other people are they hear somebody talk about their card and they want to collect that one. They haven't had that one. Some people think that there shouldn't be they thought they had all the best cards and no one could compete with them. So this whole mix of things. So that I'm going to continue to work on that idea of idea trading cards and wisdom mining. So the idea that I go to a small church, and Paul goes to a small church, and Paul embodies in that small church with some people who are aging. In one of his videos, he said, these people, these saints, deserve somebody walking with them to the end, that someone can honor their lives at their funeral. And Paul is committed to walking with these people, and that people want Paul to put another priority into his life and say, no, this is your community now. This is what you're to manage. And Paul says, no, I'll play here. I have a mind that goes off on these tangents and does deep dives, and Tim Keller and then Jordan Peterson and now Estuary. But I embody with a small church, and I love those people, and it's real. They're actually people that sit with me every week, multiple times a week, and they support me and I support them. It's a real embodied thing. We want material things, don't we? Material things. In our material stage, he actually has people in his life that he loves and cares about, and he's not going to abandon them even for this virtually not alone network, which he wants to thrive. But if it rises and falls on him, and that was one of the things that the Father something said, if Paul goes away, this thing dies. Well, that's one of the strange things about the church, is you don't want the pastor to be the life of the church. The church has to be a thing that if he leaves, if he dies, if he moves to another church, or if something happens that he's taken out of the scenario, the church is to be a healthy place, a healthy community that can still live. He's not the heart of it. And all these mega churches where this one guy and the cult of personality, and it's real, it's a material thing. There's somebody who has this personality that's so interesting, and so it's a Peterson phenomenon, or it's a Tim Keller phenomenon, that you can plant him in a place where you wouldn't think that he would necessarily thrive. Tim Keller in New York City, and all these people come, these New York yuppies or whatever they are, come to hear the gospel. And Peterson preaches an atheistic, or kind of as a non-believer, gets all these people to go to church. So these unlikely people with these great personalities, and then a group forms around them. But Estuary is the idea that Peterson, it doesn't live and die on Peterson, and it doesn't live and die on Paul Vanderklay. So my idea of, okay, so it was wisdom mining. So a small church. Why a small church? Because if Vervaeke is seeking wisdom and he's doing all this work to build up a way to find wisdom, and you can do that in an academic environment. So you're in a laboratory and you're trying to create life, you're trying to create wisdom, and it's a Frankenstein's monster scenario. If you put all the right pieces together, this thing will come alive. Wisdom will be born out of your effort. You will have a child. And if only you could get this optimal grip on whatever this mystery is, life. He's alive. It's wisdom. I've found the path to wisdom. Well, the truth of the matter is, if you want to mine wisdom, if you're a wisdom miner, you can't actually create the gold. If you're a gold miner, you don't create gold in a laboratory. That was that ancient practice of alchemy. If we could only turn lead into gold, and that's some scientific endeavor. Can we turn ideas into wisdom? Can we take random ideas and make them live and turn them into gold? So you're gold mining, you're wisdom mining. You want gold. You want eureka. I found it. I found wisdom. Well, if you want to mine gold, you have to go into these holes into the ground. And it takes a lot of scratching around and digging, a lot of effort to get a little gold. You can't create the gold outside. You can find wisdom or gold outside of a mine. People have it. You can trade something for it. You can collect gold. You can collect wisdom. You can't go into the ground and not think that you have to scratch and claw for a long time and find wisdom or find gold the way it's always been found. There's no new method of getting gold. There's no new method of getting wisdom. So this idea of a religion that's not a religion. I want to create wisdom. Small church. Go into a small church and don't think you go into that hole and just fill your pockets with gold. You go into a small church and you have to scratch around a bit. So there's all these gray heads in a small church, and they're all going to go away, but they're filled with 70, 80 years of wisdom. They've scratched around for 80 years, and they have wisdom inside. If you go to a small church and you're ready to leave the second somebody doesn't give you gold right now, you want wisdom, and you better spit it out to me now or I'm out. That idea that you must sit there and probe and ask questions and be patient and get your hands dirty and get some cuts and bruises by people who have wisdom in them, but they're not a vending machine. You put a quarter in, I expect a wisdom candy bar. No. You have to go into their hearts. And you have to be willing to pay to carry a cross. How do you go into a church and think the second you're offended, you're out? I'm seeking wisdom, but it better be easy. Have you ever gold mined? Have you ever wisdom mined? Do you think it's easy? Don't you think that people... So I'm working on that idea. Okay, what's wisdom mining? So idea trading cards, wisdom mining, and the third thing was, so Grimm did not want to identify as a Christian. So my idea, I am a Christian, so this identity, Christian, church, Jesus. He wanted to say, yeah, Jesus Christ is Lord. That's the thing. Well, that's the thing that fits in this whole communal fellowship. If I identify as Christian, unless it's in name only, nominal, Christian is a little Christ. I'm trying to follow the one. And the church is where people kind of get this estuary world, kind of like a world meeting area. People trying to follow Jesus gather together in this meeting ground. And it's a home base, it's a community. And they say, we're going to gather here and we'll say that Jesus is better than me. We'll all agree on Jesus. So the church is an agreement on Jesus. Whether people are good at it, it's an estuary. Whether people are good at it, for goodness sakes. Of course, there are a lot of them that are just trying to discover Jesus, trying to see if he's real. Trying to see if you believe he's real. Are you real? So the church is an estuary. It's a place where there's a claim that Jesus is here. And there's no other claim. And a Christian is a person who claims that they've bumped into Jesus. And there's no other claim. A Christian, whatever Tom Holland thinks a Christian is, and that the world is Christian, it's that we bumped into Jesus. And Jesus, in some way, is reclaiming the world. And the whole world, in some way, has bumped into Jesus. And that's the whole Christian idea. And I get why people don't want to identify as Christian because, maybe someone was offended by a Christian. Someone who claims to have bumped into Jesus but wasn't healed. So the one woman touches Jesus' cloak, the edge of his garment, and is healed. There are people in that same crowd that the disciples say, Jesus says, who touched me? I felt power go out of me. Somebody was just healed. The disciples say, everyone's touching you. And Jesus says, yeah, but not everyone's healed. So all these people are touching Jesus and not healed. That's the bulk of the crowd that he's walking in. He's bumping into them and they're not changed. This one woman was so desperate, had the faith in some way to touch Jesus and was healed. The other people, Jesus met so many people that he didn't heal. It's crazy. The whole story is crazy. And it's the most unique, indecipherable, simple, and complex at the same time. Children understand it. Wise people, dig into this thing their whole lives and can't quite explain it. And children can. Or some fool, some old person says, I just trust Jesus. That fool. Can't you explain it? Yeah, I trust him. That is the explanation. So, now, why not Christian? I'm going to identify as Christian because I bumped into Jesus and a little of him got on me. But it's not anything that I can say is goodness that I am better than anybody. No, I bumped into him and something happened. And it has to do with being caught. But I wanted to say the deconstruction. So people who are raised in this Christian environment and say, this sucks, there are too many jerks here, I'm out. They deconstruct. They're Gandhi. I like your Jesus. I like your Christ. I don't really like your Christian. Yeah, no kidding. No kidding. That's the whole point. Well, I won't deconstruct because I did deconstruct. I was in the world and found it wanting, and I was offended and I was hurt by the world. So I deconstructed and ended up a Christian. in the church following Jesus. I did deconstruct. I'm not going to deconstruct again. I now found the light. And whether I have any or reflect much, that doesn't matter. I'm not here to reflect much. I'm here to be shined upon. I go to church because I want to find Jesus. I want to find him everywhere. But that's a specific place that the commitment is, that's our task. It's a gold mine. You're going in to find gold, and Jesus, the gold, wisdom, whatever you're doing. This is a hole in the ground that you can scratch around and possibly get a eureka. You found it. There's a lot of people at gold mine and never come up with gold. That whole gold rush, it was mostly people who lost everything. It wasn't that everyone got gold. It wasn't at all that. So, and disenchantment, enchantment. I'll talk about that another time because that's a big theme in my life, the enchantment. And it has to do more with personality than some winning formula. I'm naturally prone to enchantment, and that got me in trouble, I think, in my denomination. Because what even is that? What even is it? Well, ask Chesterton. Ask the whole world that is disenchanted. Is that what you're looking for? Are you looking for enchantment? Because that's magical. That's the world of fairies. If you're looking for disenchantment, that's the whole world. And that's what I deconstructed from. Because I was prone to see that can't be right. I was born for another world. It's not this one. So that's it for today, 22 minutes. That's pretty long. So this is Tom, negotiating with Jesus. I'm going to do a music video later, but that's the end of this one. I'll wrap it up.